Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today we're going to be talking about Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons, so let's get to it. Pros: the movie stars and is directed and partially written by Kevin Costner. So, he's doing like a triple header here. Yeah, Kevin Costner. Let's discuss him. So he's been around for a long time. He's made plenty of movies. The ones I see here, the one that immediately comes to mind is not The Untouchable. Dances with Wolves. That's probably the first movie people think of when it comes to Kevin Costner. That was a humongous hit back in 1990. So yeah, like that. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Was it Prince of Thieves? Yes, Prince of Thieves. That was another huge hit. The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston, huge hit. So the early '90s, like Kevin Costner was just killing it on the big screen. Then Waterworld happened, and that movie was a total clusterfuck, especially production wise. It was a total shit show for many reasons. This is all. It would take way too long to go over that thing, but it was a huge flop when it came out because it had like a stupidly high budget for the time. Even now, it would be stupidly high. I think it was like 170 million. But like that's in 1990 dollars, $95. Imagine how much that is these days with inflation. Like, yikes. So yeah, that was a bit of a that definitely did a number on his career. And then The Postman was even worse. I don't know about Tin Cup. I don't remember that really anyone remembering this. But that did like I guess moderate. The Postman, disaster. This came out in '97, Christmas of '97, when Titanic was just starting to become a big thing. When it was just starting to become like a phenomenon. It was in the early stages of phenomenon. It was the only movie people really wanted to watch, and The Postman came out with no fanfare. Everyone hated it. No one watched it. It was basically it seemed like it was a career killer for Kevin Costner, and like he made the whole movie, so it was pretty much it was 100% his fault. So that's the movie he decided to make, and then for a while he made like nothing even remotely big. A lot of these movies are like mid-level hits at best. Open Range is the biggest of the bunch, and even then it did moderate. It did okay. It did fine, but none of these I would call like true like big hits. There's Man of Steel, where he was Clark's Jonathan Kent, aka Clark's farm dad, who gave Clark some rather questionable um I guess advice. And when Clark like tried to save him from a tornado, he just like no, just let me die, and then he died. And yeah, that was Man of Steel for you. Not exactly a fun movie. I like it though, but that's just me. Then after that, not a whole lot else in terms of movies, really. I guess there's Hidden Figures, but that was really wasn't about him. It's more about Taraji P. Henson. It was a Janelle Monae. If it was Janelle Monae, I hope I said her name right. I feel like I messed up. Janelle Monae. Okay, and Octavia Spencer. It was more about them than Kevin Costner. And yeah, not a whole lot else. But there is one big thing missing, and it's not because it's a movie; it's a show, and that's Yellowstone. Okay, Yellowstone. I've never seen the show; never interests me. But from what I know, that show is big. Okay, it is not some small backwoods show. This show was very popular. Is like well, it was originally on like I think it was like the Paramount Network, and then it went to like Peacock, and yeah, it has a big following, huge following. I know that, And it's interesting I'm talking about Yellowstone because Horizon more pretty much killed Kevin Costner's presence in Yellowstone because he more or less ditched Yellowstone to do the Horizon movies, and there was a lot of drama surrounding that. And recently, Kevin Costner revealed he's like, "Oh, that season finale or series finale, they're half of I'm not going to come back, so they're gonna have to figure out what to do." The showrunners of Yellowstone figure out that mess. But yeah, Yellowstone was so popular. I mean, if you just took like if just a fraction of that audience went to see Horizon, then it'd be fine. It'd be financially solid. So yeah, and I imagine Kevin Costner is like the main reason why anyone wants to see this movie anyway, mainly because of Yellowstone. um, so yeah, Kevin Costner. I guess his presence, I would label it a pro, more or less. Yeah, his presence is a pro. I mean, look at the rest of the cast. I mean, it says it's a big cast. It sure doesn't seem like it. Maybe I'm at least like in terms of like draws, I don't really see anyone like that significant. I mean, you got Sam Worthington, but he's mainly known for like being Jake Sully in the Avatar movies, Perseus, and the Clash of the Titans movies. A really terrible movie, by the way. And its sequel, Wrath, and like Terminator Salvation, the Terminator movie everyone forgot, the one time forgot. Yeah, it's also like The Shack and Hacksaw Ridge. They did solid, I guess. Yeah, nothing else really that significant, really. I guess Everest, but I don't think anyone remembers Everest. Yeah, nothing really that significant. Who else do we got? Sienna Miller. Sienna Miller. Okay, let me see. Taya. Was she like Chris Kyle's wife in American Style? I think she was. I think where she had like that fake baby, that little doll he had the Bradley Cooper had to like carry in the movie. Yeah, that was a real thing, by the way. But I think that's really it. Oh, she was. I think she was like the main antagonist of like, the first GI Joe movie. Oh, yeah, that's where I remember her from. Okay, but besides that, she doesn't have a whole lot of hits on her resume, so there's no real point in going any further with her. Jenna Malone, who is that? Oh, Johanna Mason from the Hunger Games movies. Okay. Rebel Moon, we're not going to talk about that. No, no, no. No thanks. It's not even relevant here, but. Oh, there's Sucker Punch. But yeah, nothing really like that significant. Like her biggest role was was still like a supporting role in like the Hunger Games movies, or at least the Hunger Games sequels. Um, I don't want to go over everyone because it would take way too long. Luke Wilson, I'm pretty sure him and Owen Wilson, are they brothers? Are they related? I don't remember if they're related or not. I'm gonna Google it. Are they like brothers or something? Yes. Yes. Yes, they are brothers. Okay. Cool. I was worried I was gonna be wrong. Um but yeah, Luke Wilson. It's been some movies, quite a few movies. He was in Scream 2? I don't really remember that. There's Old School, I know that. There's Old School, there's Legally Blonde. I don't know. I don't remember Charlie's Angels. Him being in that really. Um, I know he made like a cameo in Anchorman, the first one. My Super Ex Girlfriend. I don't think anyone remembers that movie. No one on planet Earth does. I know that. Uh, besides that, I don't remember him being like anything else like significant, where he had like a main like presence in it. No, no. Okay. There's no one really, no one else here really that significant. Like, it's Michael Rooker, Yondu, in Guardians of the Galaxy. Pretty much it's collaborative with like all of James Gunn's movies. The Suicide Squad as well. Oh, I forget, was he in Fast X? I think he was. He was. Well, damn. Um, yeah, I don't think he has a main role in this, but most people obviously know him as Yondu in the Guardians movies before he bit the bullet in Guardians 2 and died. It was sad. Giovanni Ribisi, this dude. I know him from Avatar. I know him from the 10 movies as Donnie. Um, what else? Anything? Mostly it's like a lot of these actors, they're supporting role actors. They never really had like a big, a showcase movie, if you will. So it's kind of hard to judge their resume. So the rest of the cast, I mean, yep, some recognizable names, and I say that's like fine enough. So I'm gonna give that like a minor pro. Another pro I can think of. Hmm. Ooh. This is strong. I mean, I guess it has no real direct competition. It's a western. There aren't any westerns coming out in the near future, and everything else is kind of going in the next like few weeks is going after like a different audience, obviously, or has a different genre attached. Quiet Place Day One and Maxine, horror movies. Despicable Me 4, family movie. Inside Out 2, family movie. Fly Me to the Moon, I guess has the same audience, barely. Twisters, that's disaster. Deadpool, Wolverine, that's superhero flick. Yeah, there's really nothing like. There's no real direct competition until I guess chapter 2 comes out in August. So I guess the lack of direct competition is a pro. I guess it also helps this movie's obviously going after a more mature, like older demographic. Trying to go after like that middle of the country crowd, that Midwest crowd is which that crowd can be very reliable if you appeal to them with like a movie that they can really like connect with. Like that's part of the reason why Top Gun Maverick was as big as it was, or why A Sound of Freedom exploded at the box office last year. Don't count out like that Midwest crowd. Like when they care, they will show up. But you have to make them care. You can't just expect them to care. So, with this, going after like a more mature audience, it's gonna be like less of a sprint and more of like a long run in theory. So going after a more mature audience, and not that could be a pro, bit of a minor pro, because it tends to lead to better legs, especially better like weekday legs that I've noticed with like these older skewing movies. They do really well during the week. On the weekend they do kind of but on the weekdays they do pretty good. So I guess that's a minor pro. And I think that's it with pros. Okay, cons. Reviews for this movie are no good. Really no good. Has a 39% critic score. That is not ideal. But you could argue, well, who cares about the critics? This is more of like an audience thing. Audiences will love this movie. Well, that's not the case, which I'm kind of surprised about. I thought this would be like a bit of like an audience favorite in theory, but no. Then what I'm seeing does not reflect that at all. Its audience score is a 70%, which is awful for a movie like this. That is terrible. Especially like I expect it to get like an A minus or something, but that's like a cinema score. I expect like an A minus. When I saw its actual cinema score, I was a bit shocked. B minus. That is horrendous. Again, for a movie like this with like an older demographic, that is abysmal. So it tells me word of mouth is ass for this movie. The people who are watching it aren't liking it very much. And you know what? I want to look at the ratings just so I can get like a vibe of like the reaction. Uh, I see a lot of 5-star ratings. The first one I'm seeing is Kevin did it again. I wish we could get more movies like this today. It's a real classic in the making. That's like a 5-star. I want to look at the real negative reviews, really see like why the score is as low as it is. So I'm gonna read those. It'll be interesting. We got a 0.5 star. Beautiful scenery and costumes, but no substance to the story. Another retelling of settlers versus indigenous peoples with no winners. Don't waste your time or your money or time. A 3-star review said it was way too confusing going back and forth with two, I suppose like two O's, but it's just two of one O. Too many stories. Confusing. This is a 4-star review. If this was a series on a major topic platform, you would all not be complaining. It was a good start and very intriguing storyline. Chill the F out. There's another 5-star review. Excellent. It was not made for people with the concentration of a fish. So basically, the TikTok crowd. It's pretty sure that's what this person's implying. Well made. Something that is in short supply lately. I'm just like, we've had some good movies this year, right? Dune Part 2, Furiosa. I didn't see Bad Boys Ride or Die, so I can't really comment on the quality of it. Apparently, it's good. Civil War. None of those matter. Oh, I guess they just don't matter. It's a 1-star review. I usually like long movies with multiple storylines. Same here. I like a movie with like multiple perspectives. But yeah, so this review is like I usually like long movies with multiple storylines. Not this one. There does not seem to be a unifying story that connects the various storylines. Okay. Da, da, da. Oh, we got a 0.5 star. Boy, it's a whole ass paragraph. I need to read this. Never before in my life going to the movies have I heard some yell that movie sucked at the end of the movie. I've seen some stinkers. Some stinkers. What? Some stinkers for me. I thought the movie was all over the place and hard to follow. It reeked as a revenge movie to Yellowstone. I found very few scenes enjoyable. If you are Kevin Costner, if you are Kevin Costner, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting reading this. I feel like I'm having a stroke reading this thing. You might be a fan if you might like it. I think that's what's meant to say. It is about an hour. It takes about an hour for him to appear in this movie. It takes an hour for him to show up. Well, that's kind of. Well, I imagine that's going to be annoying for the people who watch it. Of course, I will waste my mind to see the next one. Why though? He gave it a 0.5 star. I guess maybe just to complete it. I mean, that's how I am with some of the sequels. That's why I watched Episode 9 of Star Wars, even though I wasn't really excited to see it. I just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna complete this thing." I love the scenery. It says, "I love the scenery, though it did suck." Getting some mixed messages with that last. So okay, that was a lot. Um, let's see. This is a 2.5 star. It was too slow for the first 2 hours. I was disappointed. Another 0.5 star. No true storyline. Jumped all over the place. Yikes! I don't even want to see the second one. It was not even close to dancing with wolves. So disappointed. And they got like a 5-star review. I have to watch the sequel now. So 3 stars. I like the movie, but I am a Western film fan. The first part did a lot of jumping around and it completely had my wife lost. Hopefully part 2 will put it all together for those that got lost. And then I got 2 star. The movie was all over the place. We thought it would all come together in the end, but it didn't. Not worth seeing for 3 hours. So yeah, so audience scores are all over the place with this thing. You got people who love this movie, people who hate this movie. It's all over the place. But the important thing is that word of mouth is not good. It is generally not good at all. And that is really bad for a movie like this, especially for this being a chapter 1 or a part 1, and part 2 is going to be coming out mid-August. So the reaction to this will directly affect chapter 2. It's very much what happened with like the Matrix sequels, where you had Matrix Reloaded come out, had a very mixed reaction, and that had a negative effect on Revolutions, which had an even worse reaction. So yeah. So yeah, word of mouth, no good. Con. Another con is the fact that like this is being split into 2 chapters, like 2 whole movies, and it's building itself as like an event, and it does not feel like that at all. Like when I think of events, like event movies, I think of like an Avengers movie, a Star Wars movie from back in the day, even like stuff from like recent, the last 2, like this, like last year, Mario, Barbie, Oppenheimer, the Taylor Swift Eras tour, Five Nights at Freddy's. Even this year, Dune Part 2, Inside Out 2. Like those are like events in my eyes. Those are real event movies. Not this. Not this. This is not a movie everyone's gonna like rush to see. So yeah, calling it an event just feels kind of phony in my eyes. Um, and splitting the 2 chapters, it feels really cash grabby in my eyes. Like you really couldn't just make one movie and just condense it just like into like one film. Did it have to be 2 whole chapters? The first chapter being 3 fucking hours? Like, did you have that much story to tell? Like, I don't. And the whole thing just feels like the way you're doing like this double chapter, you're giving like the audience like no time to like let it like sink in, because the second chapter is going to be coming out in a month and a half. At least with these part 1, part 2 movies, they take like there's at least a year or so gap between them. That way they can like breathe a little bit. But with this, it's just like here's one chapter, and then we get the next chapter right afterwards. But as I said, the reaction in the box office to chapter 1 will directly impact chapter 2. So yeah, just the fact that they had to split this into 2 chapters, I feel like that might hurt its box office really for chapter 2 than chapter 1. Yeah, splitting this into 2 chapters feels really silly in my eyes. And apparently, it's supposed to be like 4 of these things that Kevin Costner wants to do. I'm just like, God damn, Kevin, who are you, James Cameron, just making all these sequels to like a movie like you really want to make? Like this whole thing just feels like this whole thing's like a pet project for Kevin, almost like the vibe of like self-importance, like a whole ego trip. Like it kind of feels like that. At least, from my point of view, that's what it feels like to me. So yeah, the whole splitting it into 2 chapters, I think, is kind of silly. And calling it an event is real silly. So I'm going to label that as a con. Another con is that this weekend, you got A Quiet Place Day 1, which has a lot more buzz and energy surrounding it. Not to mention Inside Out 2, still killing it. So you got like those 2 movies, duking it out at the top of the chart, and then you got like this, which has nowhere near like the amount of like attention and buzz as A Quiet Place Day 1. So that's a big issue. And then next week you got Despicable Me 4, which should in theory do really well. So you got like another big movie to deal with. And sure, these are all like movies, they don't share like the same audience. Like this doesn't share the same audience with all of those. But that's still a lot of movies, a lot of big movies, and there's a chance this is going to get drowned out because of that. So yeah, dealing with all these like big movies, that's a con. See, I guess I can mention this Thursday previews. They're not great, although I wasn't expecting high numbers for previews for a movie like this. But 800K, that's not a great sign. Really isn't. So, um, yeah, I guess I'm labeled that as, I guess, a minor con. It's not a big deal, but it's not a great sign. So that's a con. Are there any other cons to this? I guess westerns. Westerns are really weird. I mean, originally, like a long time ago, long ass time ago, they were like huge. Like they were like big hits, like decades ago. And then then suddenly, like they just like stopped being successful. They became like box office poison for a long time. Kind of like what we're seeing with the superhero movies nowadays. Like it's very comparable. Although superhero movies make way more money than Western movies. um, but yeah, but forgot my train of thought. But like in the 2000s, like really in the 2010s, I feel like the Western was starting to really come back. Like with stuff like True Grit, Django Unchained. Like okay, we're getting somewhere. These movies, westerns can be successful again. And like Rango, super underrated movie. Even though it's not quite like all these other ones. A lot of these are live action, like that's animated, but still really good flick. So you have like those. But then you have like stuff like Lone Ranger, which set the whole genre back by quite a bit. Um like Hateful Eight wasn't like a flop, but it definitely should have done better. Kill oh wait, Dark Tower, ugh. that that whole movie was a mess. Million Ways to Die in the West, huge disappointment. Considering that was coming off of like Ted, so Seth MacFarlane he took a big L there. And yeah, so westerns like the success rate for westerns nowadays it's not very good. And the thing that there's like comparable stuff on streaming. So is there really any real reason to watch this on the big screen when you're probably gonna watch it on Max in like a few months anyway? Like I don't know. I don't think there's a really strong reason to watch this in the theater, especially for 3 hours. So yeah, just the Western genre being like really inconsistent when it comes to success. That's a con. There's another con I can mention, like the 3 hour runtime. Look, I know I've mentioned in the past that something runtimes don't matter. You can have a long ass movie and it could still be successful. Avengers Endgame, 3 hours, $2.7 billion. Oppenheimer, 3 hours, damn near $1 billion. Okay, you know, long movies can succeed. They just have to be interesting. They have to be something you want to sit for there for 3 hours. You have to want to watch and just sit your ass there for like 3 hours. This does not feel like one of those movies. Like people have complained about that runtime, and like the last thing you want a 3 hour movie to do is feel like 3 hours. Because when it's something like you want something like breeze by, where it feels like no time has passed at all. But if you feel 3 hours, you're gonna feel 3 hours, and it's gonna be miserable. Um, and apparently, from what I've read with the ratings, that's like the what's kind of going on here. So yeah, that runtime here is it's more of a detriment than something that'll really help it. So that 3 hour runtime, that's a con. And yeah, I think that's it. So opening weekend, from the numbers I've seen, this is expected to make like, I believe, 12 million. Yeah, 12 million. That's what it's looking like. Let me see. 12 to 13 million. Um, so I get that's not great considering the movie cost. Apparently, this is 50 million, but that may have been grouped in with like it's chapter two, so really 100 million total. I don't know. Let's just say 50 million for this. For like a 50 million movie, 12 to 13 million opening, that's not ideal. Oof. And its total, I would say it would have long legs, but that word of mouth really troubles me. That kind of tells me that I don't really see this lasting as long as it should. So maybe I'm gonna say between 30 and 40 million to be safe. And yeah, and considering westerns historically don't do that well outside the states, that's a really bad. That is quite bad for this movie, and it's really bad for Chapter Two, which I know I'm going to be talking about in a month and a half. So yeah, but that's American Saga Horizon American Saga Chapter One. Okay, so we got one more movie to discuss, and that's A Quiet Place Day One. Then we're done for the weekend. So yay. But yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got a playlist on the homepage. All previous prediction videos I made this year, or the past few years. Want to watch any of them? Go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Horizon, I talked about it like once, and that's when it was announced. Um, that was episode 210. Talked about that and Beekeeper. And even in like my description for that video, it's like there's I put first there's American why I keep saying American first Horizon and American Saga, which will be released in two parts next summer. Why? Don't know. I didn't know then. I still really don't know now. Um, so that was episode 210. So if you want to watch that episode or any other episodes I made, since the series is done now, it's now in the rear view mirror. It's 250 episodes to choose from. So if you want to watch them from beginning to end, you want to binge them all, go right ahead. I really suggest to do that. Then there's box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. June recap, that'll be early mid July. Let's say early July, between the 5th and the 12th. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.